Hello everyone, Dork Skeleton here, and today I want to show you the final battle of an arena run I was doing earlier today, where currently I'm 11-1 wins. I actually posted the basically the draft list to Facebook a few pages ago on the Facebook page. You can find that in the description if you're interested. And I knew it was going to be a ridiculous deck days ago when I actually made this deck, but I just got around to putting it into practice today. So, this mage was pretty tough to beat. I'd almost call him my rival for the entire run. I lost once earlier to Cheese, but pretty much no other deck was really coming close to this one. So, right off the bat, I have a iffy hand. One of the problems with the deck was that it was slightly slow, but I lucked out because there weren't too many aggressive decks inside of the arena run. What this deck has a lot of is really big late-game cards. Well, actually, a lot of really good, solid 3-drops, 4-drops, and leading into a strong late game. The feature card of the deck was a Sylvanas Windrunner, but surprisingly, I wasn't able to get really that many good steals off of her the entire run. So here the mage throws out an Amani Berserker, which is a little bit annoying, because if you don't already know, a mage can just ping that Amani Berserker and make it a 5-2, which would trade with my 3-4 should he choose to do so. It's not exactly an obvious play. It does slow him down a bit if he chooses to do that, effectively using 4 mana and 1 card to take out 1 card. But instead he opts out for a Frostbolt here, which kind of tells me that the very next turn he wants to ping that with its spot with Fire Blast. So I immediately throw out my Shattered Sun Cleric, making that a 4-2, bringing it out of Fire Blast range, and effectively wasting his Frostbolt to a degree. It's not exactly a waste. It definitely stopped me from killing his Mana Worm or his Amani, but it didn't kill a guy, so I at least burned one of his cards there. Now, if you've been playing against mages in Hearthstone, then you know that the minute they throw out a creature, a follow-up Frostbolt is incredibly likely, and that applies to Arena too, since of course Frostbolt is common. That's one of the reasons I played the Spider Tank with 4 HP. So instead of dropping something like a Water Elemental, he puts more guys on his board. Playing the Loot Hoarder there is actually a pretty good move, because he looks at my board. What does he see? He sees 2 guys that I probably would trade into his 2 guys. So what he can actually do is try to push for damage here, which isn't a bad play. Arena has been getting a lot more aggressive, I'd say ever since GVG came out, but especially with the Blackrock Mountain Adventure set. But here I'm not actually going to trade with that Amani. I'm going to use the Lava Shock just to deal 2 damage, which is a fine use of it, and throw 4 damage at his face with my Spider Tank, effectively forcing him to trade into my Spider Tank. What I expect him to do is to Fire Blast my 2-1, run his 2-1 into my 2-1, and this does give him initiative, because he does get to play a guy. And, of course, being the 12th, the final boss battle, the win for win 12, he's going to have really good cards. So he gets a Water Elemental and another Mana Worm, which is pretty ridiculous. If he had like spells like, for instance, well, Arcane Missiles, but is it really that good? Like more Frostbolts or something like that than that Mana Worm, or those Mana Worms, would be pretty damn ridiculous. So here I just got to go for the most mana efficient play, and that's the Dragon Wing Technician and the Fairy Dragon. 1 turn away from Flame Strike. Whenever you're playing against Mage in Arena, you have to assume that they have a Flame Strike around turn 7. If they don't play it when you have a really, really lucrative board, then you can kind of figure out if they have a Flame Strike or not. But when I'm playing Mage, what I like to do is fake that I don't have the Flame Strike, make them overcommit, and then when they overcommit on turn 8 or 9, then I burn them with the Flame Strike. So he does his draw 2 cards with his Arcane Intellect, which is really, 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 really scary in Arena, because that's 2 more chances to dig into a Flame Strike. I know he's pretty much looking for it. All mages would be. Getting the Ogre Brute as another 3-mana minion on top of that is really strong, though. If I had something like my Lightning Storm now, that might be pretty good. But what I do throw out is the Hungry Dragon, giving him a 1-1 boar. Hungry Dragon, usually a really strong card in Arena, and not too bad for Constructed 2 in certain decks. It can bite you in the ass if you get a very specific 1-drops, like when you need to deal damage to their minions and you get a 0-4 taunt in the form of Shield Bearer. That can be a pain. He gets to... unfortunately, his Ogre Brute, when it swang, didn't get the oops, Ogre no stupid, I attacked the Hungry Dragon. That kind of hurt me pretty bad this match. I would have loved it to run into my Hungry Dragon. Fortunately, though, his Hungry Dragon gives me a 2-1 Worgen Infiltrator, which I can use to run right into that 4-1. which is pretty important in this match. I think if I didn't have anything to answer that 4-1, I would have been in serious trouble already. But I am going to play around Flamestrike as much as I can, because he drew 2. This is the 12th win I'm going for. You gotta assume he's got 1 or 2 or more. So the Piloted Shredder is a pretty good 4-drop for answering that. Now we've got to wait and see what he actually throws out. I don't remember exactly what he does this turn, but I do remember that it's not perfect. Something happens. Ah, yeah, right. He throws down his Flamestrike. He not only throws down a Flamestrike, but it's a 6-mana Flamestrike. Luckily, and this saved me from losing the game right there, I get the Annoyatron, pretty much the perfect 2-drop for that. Allows me to trade my 5-1 into his 5-5. Throughout a, it looks like I'm in a pretty good position here, because I get out my 7-7 Divine Shield, the Force Tank Max, I believe they're called. Really solid arena pick. Unfortunately, he has the answer to that. If he didn't have the answer to that, I think that probably would have been a win there, but unfortunately that happened. Would it have been better to throw down the Stormwind Champion or something like that? It's a little bit debatable in hindsight. In hindsight, probably. I think that was the right play, just to play the Force Tank Max, though, because Stormwind Champion is so much better if you can get it out with something. Now, here, I assume he's got 2 cards. It would kind of hurt if he has a Flamestrike here. I throw down 2 of my minions to kind of set up for my Stormwind Champion next turn. If I could actually pull that off, I'd be in a really good position here. Unfortunately, I believe he top-decked the Flamestrike while I was while I looked away from the screen for 2 seconds. And then I hear the sound. Whoosh! Everything. Oh, man. Sorry for killing your ears. But yeah, I just hear the sound and I'm like, oh shit, there goes my board. 2 hexes in hand isn't too bad, but there's a problem. I'm at 10 hit points. So, what the hell do you do against that? Now, getting the 1-1 totem isn't too bad. I mean, at least it's a 2-2 totem here, but he already has the answer on board. He could just trade both his minions and then Fire Blast the 1-1. And what am I going to be able to hex? Does he even have hexable targets? The Ironbeak Owl isn't a good start. The Frostwolf Warlord is a pretty good hex target. But the problem is, you know, if he was to keep those 2/3/2s on the board and just use it to attack my face, I would super be dead. And I think he made a mistake not going for face there. Oh yes. But here I make the biggest freaking mistake of the game. I used a totem. And you know what that means? I can't play my Sylvanas. That was so huge. I was facepalming. I was regretting that decision. Make sure you count your mana. And when you're playing in such a serious match like the last win of an arena run, make sure that you are certain about your plays before you do them. Now, I'll be able to survive one more turn or two here because I have the hex for his Force Tank Max as well. I figure he probably doesn't have any more big stuff, but there's a huge problem. If I had the Sylvanas on the field last turn, I would have been able to kill one of the totems. Or, not the totems, the frogs, rather. And I would have been able to kill the other frog, and I have to have an answer for getting through his taunts. Because right now, he has lethal on the board against me. In hindsight, you know, actually looking at it, this turn I would have been killing the second frog with Sylvanas. Or would I? No. I would have killed the 2-1 Ironbeak Owl. It was theoretically possible to survive there, but it was very unlikely. I mean, Hungry Dragon also had to give him a 0-2 or something that can't do damage, and that's to leave me at 1 HP. I would have lost either way, so damn! That was a tough mage, and that means that it's a 12-2 win, or it's a 11-2 loss for Arena. And you know, I can't say I was mad about losing that match against, whatever his name is, Mordok the Mage. Something like that, because he had a really good deck. It was as good as mine. Yeah, basically, because mine had some slight problems, like curving and maybe not enough card draw. And definitely lacking the healing. Something that Shamans kind of need a little bit of, because they're vulnerable. Like, killing a Shaman, rushing down a Shaman, like if you're a hunter or something like that, isn't too difficult. They're not like a hand lock where they just heal up all the time. So, I actually go into my second match here, and the reason I'm showing both matches in one video is because you look at his name, it's the same guy. It's Magnor again. I don't know what he was at. Maybe he was at 11-1 as well, and then he went up 10-1, and then he went up to 11-1 or 11-2 or something like that. But I wonder, he must have realized it was me again. There's no way you wouldn't. You see broken cards like the ones I have in my deck, and you know that's coming. So here I have two choices, Spider Tank or the Unbound Elemental. I go with the Unbound Elemental, and I think this may have been a very slight misplay. The reason I went with the Unbound Elemental, though, is because I want to bait out his removal. And basically, an Unbound Elemental with no overload to power it up is slightly worse than a Spider Tank. So I wanted him to take out the Unbound Elemental instead of the Spider Tank. Honestly, though, I do have enough overload in the deck. Maybe I should have held on to the Unbound Elemental. Doesn't really make much difference in the end. It's 1 damage, but still, 1 damage can seriously matter in matches. Especially these days with how aggressive the meta has gotten, both in Constructed and Arena. He throws out a Water Elemental, again, which is a huge deal. It's one of the best 4-drops. I could pour out more stuff, but I really don't want to deal with that Water Elemental, so I'm just going to Hex it. Would I have thrown out the Piloted Shredder? Could that have been good? Maybe. I think both lines of play are actually pretty reasonable. And here I'm going to throw out a Piloted Shredder, hoping that his Ogre Brute won't run into it. I assume that the Fire Blast is going on that 3-1. Why would it not? Just the hope is, hey, Ogre Brute, I'm no stupid. Crush or smash. Huge decision. Oops. I love Ogre Brute. It's such a fun card. He actually throws out a Hungry Dragon, though. And that's kind of an interesting play, because it allows him to run his Ogre Brute into something that actually is a good trade for him. And actually, having a Hungry Dragon on the field is a pretty big deal for him. It's such a strong card, a 5/6 for 4 mana. Crazy. As long as you can remove the 2/1 or the 1-drop without it being too big of a deal. He's got a Polymorph Answer. I remember him having a Polymorph. I kind of hoped he didn't have it in his hand. Seems every time I play the 6-drop against a Mage, they always have a Polymorph in hand in Arena, so keep that in mind. If you're going to play big cards when you're playing an Arena match, make sure you're okay with actually losing that big guy to a Polymorph or a Hex or whatever, depending on which class you're playing against. For that reason, sometimes it's best to save your best cards until, really late in the match when your opponents run out of most of their removal. I'm in a little bit of trouble here, to be honest, and that's because he's got a 5/2 and a 4/2 on the field. But drawing into Hungry Dragon is great there, because I can Lightning Storm that Flame Imp without him even getting to use it. Hungry Dragon Lightning Storm is such a nice combo. I think I did the same thing last match, too. It's so much fun. When I do get around to picking up Hungry Dragon and Constructed, I might do some stuff like that a little bit. So he goes to the Arcane Intellect. It's so scary to see that every single time. You pretty much gotta assume whenever they Arcane Intellect, they're drawing into a Flame Strike, or they have a good shot at it. Or they already have it in hand, and they're just kind of screwing with you. Now, you'll notice that he's playing, stealth minions and healing minions. Pretty much every mage I was running into was doing the same kind of thing. They're playing really stally kind of control matchups. No mages were really going for a rushdown. It's all about drawing into that Flame Strike or Blizzard and stalling you out, and kind of playing like a Paladin, honestly. It's like, if you get offered a Guardian of Kings, you take the Guardian of Kings. I pretty much assume every Paladin I run into has a Guardian of Kings in Arena. Okay, so he throws out the Sludge Belcher. That's a little bit scary, but he's still got more mana. Getting the Acolyte Silence, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It does sting a little bit, but I could think of worse things that could get silenced, like a Sylvanas. What I do need to get through, though, is that Sludge Belcher, and although the Hungry Dragon can do that, I mean, it does kind of set him up for Flame Strike if he has it. So what I'm going to do here is Hex that thing, throw that guy in. I know he's got bigger stuff in the deck, like the Force Tank Max, but, at this point, I just have to fight as best I can for board control, and hopefully just pray I don't get Flame Striked. Here is definitely a pray I don't get Flame Striked turn, because all I need is Flame Strike, ping the Fire Elemental, then I lose basically 2 of my best minions. And what do I have left after that? I have a Dragon Wing Technician with no trigger. Oh, no. It does have a trigger. My bad. The Fairy Dragon, of course. And a Bloodlust. And, Bloodlust, it's been a pretty decent card in this arena. Having 1 in the deck isn't bad, because they'll never see all that damage coming. But that said, sometimes you need the board control, and if you need the board control, Bloodlust isn't always the best card. So here, I'm just going to burn it for damage. I know this guy's got really good cards. like, for instance, on the field, he's got a piloted Sky Golem, which is, I can't deal with that. I have to leave that up. And he's also got a Force Tank Max. He's also got Flame Strike. So it's better in my mind for me to try to push for the win, because I can bring him down to 7, which is really nice there. Hilariously, his piloted Sky Golem gives him a piloted Shredder, which is actually a really good 4-drop for him to get. He's got another Earthen Ring Farseer, which is painful for me. So I guess that was good drafting on his part if he wants to play this late game stall. Because, you know, the closer he gets to 0, the better my odds of winning. And the longer he stays there, the more screwed I am. Luckily, and this is really lucky for me, he hasn't drawn into Flame Strike. I think if at any point up to this point he got Flame Strike, I would have been in a losing position. Luckily, I do get a good draw. Here, the Stormwind Champion is really nice. It allows me to make some good trades, and I need that at this point. What I need to win is basically him not to get a Flame Strike, and, yeah, basically that's about it. If he doesn't get a Flame Strike, I can win. If he does, it's going to be really tough, because, I mean, he's already got card advantage on me, and a Fairy Dragon isn't going to help much. It's really, really tense, and, you know, you just played this guy, you know how good he is, and how good his deck is. So it's like, you're this close to winning. You're this close to getting 12-2. Although I would have loved 12-1. 12-2 is just as good. But you gotta dodge the bullet. You gotta dodge that Flame Strike. I hope that in the future, just for the sake of arena variety, they add more cards that are anti-Flame Strike. Just because, you know, it's just been such a ridiculously dominant card. Actually, damn, I forgot. He did get the Flame Strike there. Oh, that's so brutal. Yeah, if he didn't have that there, I would have won, because I had a 6-4 Drake on the field, or 6-3 or whatever. That's so brutal. Ouch. Getting the Sunwalker, though, that does save my ass, at least temporarily, because he can Fire Blast that, unless he's got a second Flame Strike in the hand, which I'm hoping he doesn't. It's unlikely. He's got to trade 2 guys into it to get rid of that Sunwalker, and that's a good deal for me. Allows me to put 4 damage on his face, gives me another turn to draw for something else. I do have a lot of good quality cards in this deck. You know, I got Lightning Bolts, I got, what are they called? The Crackles. The 2 damage, 2 mana Lightning Bolts. And other good things I could be drawing into. Even just big things. Not my Mountain Giant, but maybe my Force Tank Max. Just anything that's big enough that he doesn't have an answer to at this point with those 3 cards. That would be good enough for me. He does throw down a Demolisher and a, what's it called? The Silvermoon Guardian? Which aren't the best quality cards, so finally we see the bad cards in his deck. You can tell, though, most of his cards are really good. Really luckily here, the 2 damage goes to my face from that Demolisher, so that is huge, actually, at this point. If it killed the Fairy Dragon, if it killed the 1-1, well, especially the Fairy Dragon, that would have been pretty much... God, I forgot he had a second Flame Strike in hand. Ah! I love mages. Don't you love mages? Because I love mages. Fortunately, at least, I do get to kind of answer his field with my Sylvanas, at least. I think what's kind of interesting here, he goes to push for damage instead of running his 3/3 into my Demolisher. I mean, I know he can just do it this turn. Would I have done it? Maybe I would have made the same play, actually. It's just so strange to see someone going face when, you know, they're so close to being dead. He's at 3 HP, though. He's at 3 HP, I got a Loot Order, and that's really good, because that lets me draw into whatever I have for lethal. It is getting a little scary, though. At this rate, I think he's got me dead in 2 turns, because he's got a 6/6 on the board, a 3/3, and a 2/3, and that 2/3 can turn into a 5/2 anytime he wants. And I give him a dust thing with my jig, which is a horrible thing for him to get, from my perspective. But by trading in my Loot Hoarder, I'm able to draw into Crackle, give him the well played. I think I squelched him, but, you know, honestly, that wasn't meant for BM. That was a well played. It meant intentionally, because that was really close. Both games were so close down to the wire. So there you go. One of the toughest arena matches I've had to go through. Another 12-2 win for me in arena. Hopefully you learned something from watching me, and you can see basically what I got here. Not too bad overall. You know, tons of gold, of course, you get so much gold when you win. And a golden power overwhelming. which I wasn't sure if I had one or not. Turns out I don't have one, so hey, you know, Power Overwhelming, that sometimes goes in decks. It's actually a really good zoo card, so it's not too bad to have that. And at some point, I got enough level points to get the Bloodlust, the Golden Bloodlust, or my second one at least. And here comes the pack. Doo-doo-doo. Rare, 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 epic. And that epic I don't have one of yet, Sabotage. Given that the meta is so Grim Patron, I think that's actually a really good card to get, because you could destroy a minion and your opponent's Death Spite. That could be so brutal. But anyway, I've been Dark Skeleton. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/darkskeleton. Facebook page, of course, in the description as well. Thanks for watching again, and I will see you all next time.